Good morning. Welcome to No Strings Attached Ministry. Today we're going to talk about a very touchy subject that a lot of people struggle with, and it's a very hot topic between a lot of different people and how they feel about it. I myself have seen both sides of that argument, and so I just wanted to share my feelings about suicide. Back when I had my injury back in 2000, a few years later, you find, as a man, you find that you're just over 40 years old, supposed to be in the prime of your life. Nothing seems to be going, your way. You're laid up, injured. Not too very good prognosis on your recovery. Struggle just to move every single day and in tremendous pain. Life goes on. Your wife's forced out of the house to go out and try to get a job or make a career. And so you don't even have your normal support there with her. All your family is pretty much out of town, and your kids are babies. I tell you, and then you're on top of medications, for the brain injury and all the other stuff that they were giving you, the mixed cocktail of total death and destruction all by itself. Oh, struggling alcoholic, struggling with all the different things in my life, that are what I call sin, smoking and you name it. You're reaching out to everything in the world, trying to find some comfort, some hope, some love, just to give you some kind of a reason to live. And then I kept not being able to sleep. I'd sleep maybe an hour at a time, and might be able to get maybe a total of about 3 hours a day, and this went on and on and on, and it still continues today. But I mean, it's something that I've learned to live with over time. But here I found myself sitting on the sofa. I had to leave the bedroom because my wife was working all the hours she could get. And every night that I would fall asleep, and then I would roll over and I'd wake up and I'd look over at her, and in the middle of the dark, and see her staring at the ceiling. God only knows what was going on in her mind. But the biggest thing that concerned me was this poor lady needs some rest, So I decided to leave the bedroom to allow her to sleep. And then I just started, just sleeping on the couch out in the living room. And, I couldn't sleep anyway, so an hour here, an hour there, that's all I could do, and it was just like taking a couple naps during the day. But and how that affected our marriage, how that affected everything about your life. People don't realize what you do just in the passion of loving somebody. Here I felt guilty of putting her through that. She was my queen. I took care of her. I gave her a great life. We had anything and everything we ever wanted or needed. I was self-employed. I mean, out to dinner all the time, new car every year. You name it, it was just the way a good life was. And now I find myself sitting our biggest mistake was, of all of our savings that we had, I thought as a man, once I got injured, I'm like, it's all right. I'll take some time off, let my body heal, recuperate it. I'll bounce back. I'm tough. I was a workaholic. I was a guy that would work sometimes 10, 14, 20 hours a day. I did what it took to provide for my family, and I loved every minute of it. The only sad part about that is now that you're sitting there as an invalid, basically with nothing. The wife comes up and says, honey, we're just about out of money. And I'm like, what do you mean we're out of money? I says, what about our savings? She says, well, we've been living on that for the last 3 years. And sure enough, but when I got injured, we didn't stop our lifestyle. We didn't change the lifestyle. So we didn't realize. I just figured I would get better and get back to work, I didn't, change of lifestyle didn't even make a difference to me. It didn't even come across my mind. But, yeah, that all soon just dwindled away. And then with no money to pay the bills, of all the bills and everything coming in, for the last 3 years and everything going on there, you can see how it ate up a lot of money. A lot of money. And, so it was a shock to both of us, actually. That's when she got up and says, well, I got to go out and, I guess, get a job, And she did. Trooper. She took right off and went straight to work and worked nights at Walmart, believe it or not, as a head cashier or a front-end manager or whatever you call them. And did extremely well. I spent a couple years there and as... for New Year's night and all kinds of different things like that, right at Walmart. We toasted in Walmart with grape juice jam or sparkling grape juice. But we did our best. Still 2 little babies. And I think the good Lord forced me to become a Mr. Mom, which I haven't complained a bit about that, and actually it's been a blessing, over the years to be able to be so close to my kids and to be able to, participate and to help more than most men ever get a chance to in being able to raise those children. But when I was at my worst of my worst on the influence of medication, there was one night I just felt like giving up. So I pulled out my 44 Magnum, gold-plated 44 Magnum. Inserted a nice shiny silver bullet into it. Cocked it, stuck it in my mouth, and I sat there and I was ready to just blow the top of my head right off. But you don't know the crushing feeling inside of your soul just before you do it. I cried so hard I couldn't cry. I was so angry with myself. I was so angry with God. I was angry with a lot of things. Life just was not fair. Then I sat and realized, well, if I do this, it's all going to end for me. It's going to be over. It's going to be quick and probably even painless. And who knows? Maybe the worms can just eat my body and be at that. The only thing that saved me was a spirit to come into my heart and my soul. And it told me that it was wrong. And the reason that it was wrong was not because of what I do to myself, but how I would affect my family. My wife, even though I wasn't sure she still loved me, couldn't blame her if she didn't. But she did at one time, and I know that for a fact. My two babies that didn't even really, they knew me as daddy, but did they really know me? They were still young. If I would have died that day, they would have never remembered me. And it would have changed their life and impacted their life quite differently, I believe. And then I remember back when I was a young boy, I was probably about 10 or 12, one of our neighbors committed suicide in his front lawn, right up against his house, sitting on the front porch. And even though us boys, we didn't see the neighborhood gang didn't see the body, we saw the aftermath. And I saw this man's brains and his blood and everything else just completely scattered all over the side of this house. And I saw a big old pot, just a big old pool of blood, just amazing how big this pool of blood was all over the front porch. And it was so thick it was already collaborated. When we got there and saw it, the police had just left. The crews were on their way to come and clean it up a little bit. And the ones that ended up having to clean up that mess was his own son. So then I was wondering what that would have been like and felt like to have my own kids help clean up my mess. So frankly, I chickened out. I'll be honest with you, I just chickened out. And when I chickened out, I put the gun back down, unloaded it, took the bullets and put them out in the garage, put the gun underneath underneath the bed, and never even looked at neither one of those again for almost 2 years. No one even knew about that day. Shortly after, it wasn't even a couple weeks after, is when my wife asked me, we were talking about the kids and how they were sort of squabbling and fighting with each other over a little game. And we were wondering what we're doing so wrong as parents. So we ended up deciding the only thing we can come up with a conclusion on the way we were raised was to, difference-wise, was that our parents took us to church. So we decided to go to church. So it took us a couple weeks to find church, and found a church. And that day, now I was a man that was a master of all sins. Hell, I was the devil's right-hand man. I walked up to the door of the church, and I was cussing my kids out because I was on a walker. And I'd already beat them to the front door of the church, and there was no one there to open the door up to let me in the door. We got into the church, and I walked all the way down to the front of the church, and that day is the day I got saved. Tell me how God works. I'll save that part of the story for a whole nother video, because that's a very long and very powerful miracle that day. But let's get back to the suicide part. I came home and I was shaking. I was very confused. I didn't know what to do. I felt better. My little girl took off and smarted off to her mom, and she was, just a toddler, just starting, she was walking, but, she was, getting a little bit better at her little walk, Well, she comes in and smarts off and shows her little butt and turns around and stomps off to her room. And, well, I get up and I go after her. After hollering at her, I get up and I go after her. And my wife comes through the kitchen and blocks me in the hallway and stands in front of me and says, "You don't want to do that, do you?" Knowing that this medicine messed with my head at that day. That's when I vowed I would never take another drop of medicine in any sort, form, or fashion. I would never use drugs. I would never do any of that again. I dropped it instantly. I suffer every day with extreme pain. People have no clue the kind of pain that I have to go through. And I walk through that every day with a smile. Because I truly feel it's not fair to the world to see the pain that's inside of me. And it's not my right to bring them down because of how I feel. And my suffering and what I have to deal with is my own problem. But I did. So I dropped the pain medication, and even today, God sent me a little therapist that studied pressure points, acupuncture, things like that. And she was from China, and she taught me about meditation. She taught me how to remove the pain through meditation. And then once I got saved, I realized that it was prayer. That's why I'm so powerful on prayer, because I know it works. It worked for me. And one person you can't convince is yourself. And you can't deceive it, you know. Something happens like that, and you run it through your mind. And it happens every single day. Every day I spend 30 minutes when I wake up. And I have to pray. I have to go into my spirit, into my body. Make a journey, walk around, take inventory, and say a prayer, and run the prayer. Run the pain away from every single spot in my body. Unfortunately, every day, I usually have one. My soul is not strong enough to pray away all of them. I usually end up with one that usually bothers me every single day. And that one little pain, I've come to actually love or be intimate with. Because it's what happened to John. He says, what was it, Lord? The Lord says, that's just your pain in your side. You're going to call that the thorn in your side. So that's how I take it. That's my thorn in my side that I just can't get over. And it's not the same pain every day. It jumps from pain to pain to pain to pain to pain. From my neck to my eye. Maybe my elbow won't work that day. See, I have a nerve damage problems. So it affects my entire body. But it does so in such a way to where it's random. If I sleep uncomfortable or if I sleep wrong that night and I don't have the exact position, I'll wake up and I'm a total mess. So you can only imagine the kind of life I have when I sleep. But anyway, I think the biggest thing that I learned about that was the suicide was very selfish. It was a selfish gesture for me. That's how I felt about it afterwards. And I almost was mortified about how bad that made me feel. And I realized just how selfish I was. And I realized at that time, that's the problem with the world is very selfish. Even my kids were selfish at a young age. They were mine, 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 mine. And that's what created the conflicts in the world. It was because people was not willing to overlook their own problems to see the truth, to see the real world, and see the love that's out there in the world and the things, and needed to learn to focus that on to different things. So what I did is I took all my hate, all my hurt, and I turned it around. And that's why I turn it around. And I choose to do that every single day. Why? Because the first thing I prayed when I got on the altar was, Lord, thank you for saving me. But give me one chance, just one chance, to be able to love the world, to be able to show one person the gift that you gave me today, and how you changed a broken, stone cold old man heart and turned me into nothing but pure, bright, light love. So every day that I go out into the world and I love the world, I choose to love the world because I truly fell in love with the world. I truly fell in love with people. I see each one of you as the creation that God truly made. And I see the beauty that's inside your soul. I see through all your tattoos, all your struggles, all your evil, anything, even your words. When you comment, if you comment on my channel as a nasty comment, that gives me a reason to pray. Because I see the evil that's actually there. And this is why I do what I do. I realized that in my darkest hour, there was no one to come and rescue me. So that's why I made a point. I will literally drive thousands of miles, and I have many, many, many times, just to go help one person that I know is in struggle and need. I go on the road randomly, and I sit there, and I let God direct me and drive me wherever I go. And I listen to the spirit wind to pull up, because I know when He speaks, there's one there waiting for me. And that's usually what happens, is one person will come, or 2 or 3 or 20 or 50. But usually is one purpose-driven person, like He told, like I promised, one at a time. That's what I asked. Just one. So I have a chance to sit with those people for hours if it takes, days if it takes. I have literally spent days with a stranger at a truck stop, or at one of the roadside rest area stops, praying with them, talking with them, feeding them, taking care of them, doing whatever I had to do to show them that someone loves them. I've seen many miracles because of just that kind of love. I've seen them change. I've seen them become beautiful, beautiful people. I've had these people call me years later and thank them for giving them one last chance in life, that they would have done the same that I almost contemplated on doing if it wasn't for God sending me to them. They would have had a lot rougher and a lot harder time, and who knows where they would have ended up. Just yesterday I found out one of my dear friends online has been recently struggling with suicide herself. You know what breaks my heart? I would go get her. I'd leave today. If I had the money, I would leave today. But that's what hurts my heart, because this ministry struggles in such a way. And I had such a hard time just putting fuel in the van. That's how much the devil beats on me. But I want you to realize that I'll do anything and everything I can every single day to love the world. And that's what I encourage you to do as well. So whenever you think that life is at its end for you, do yourself a favor and reach out. Turn around and reach out and love somebody else. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.